Welcome back to the podcast that asks the question that recruiters ask 1,000 times a day, and now it's time we finally start asking each other, is this still a good time? We have a special live episode from HR Tech. I'm very excited. This wasn't scheduled, but I had to get it in. I'm going to introduce you to my guests, but Heidi, I always have to start every interview this way because I'm a recruiter. Is this still a good time for you?
Yeah, it's a great time.
Perfect. I'm excited.
I am losing my voice, though. That was pretty squeaky, but it is still a good time.
Yeah, amazing. So I met Heidi here. Heidi is the president of talent acquisition at iSolved. You are the highest ranked, most important person who's been on this podcast yet.
Well, thank you for having me, and this is truly where I love to be, like sitting and talking with recruiters and about the different things that we do. So
I'm excited we squeezed this in.
Yeah, me too.
Purple Acorn found an extra spot for us on this conference, and that is amazing.
Yes, thank you.
So Heidi, I want to get into so much recruiting. You are leading large teams, doing a lot of things. I always like to start with what I call the recruiter breakdown, because one, it's what we want to break down and get into, but also recruiters are on the verge of a breakdown at all times, which is where this title came from.
I shouldn't laugh, but yes, I feel that.
It's okay. And everyone watching this is on the verge of a breakdown. The tagline for the show and newsletter is "For recruiters hanging on by a thread." So we all get it. We are out there. What do you want to break down? What should we get into in the world of TA?
Yeah, I mean, I first want to acknowledge the fact that so many are hanging on by a thread. You know, in my interviews with analysts and everything that we've had this week, it's really been, as you start to break down the different pieces, it is such a weird time to be in recruiting, and there's all these different conditions, and you start to add it all together and throw it into a big pot, and it's like, no wonder we all feel like we're hanging on by a thread, because it is unprecedented times when it comes to the world of recruiting. So I think today I would love to talk about maybe an announcement that we made last week with Indeed that I feel like will help our recruiters in the world today.
Sure.
We just announced Indeed Talent Scout, and we were one of two vendors that got a chance to build alongside Indeed. And it was something we've never done before, where two tech teams built the same software together, and it overlays in the ATS. And its basic function is AI functionality that helps both with candidate matching, but also on the other side, it helps with a lot with the job ad writing, visibility, optimization, which I feel like has been missing.
Yes.
And we have now a chance to know, are my jobs visible on Indeed, which we've never had before? Are there opportunities for us to be able to improve upon the job ad? That's never been, specifically documented and given to us by Indeed. So, and then it's in large language. So you can say, really what I'm looking for is this, this, and this, and it can help you optimize that job ad. Yeah,
I'm really interested to understand more about the job ad part, because there's a ton of software out there. Like, everyone now is revolutionizing job ads, and all these softwares are writing it. But this is sort of in live time when it's posted. Like, how's it determining what feedback to give?
Yeah, I think I won't say I think, I know. It's comparing with the Indeed algorithm. So it's giving a chance for us to have more of an inside scoop. A lot of times it doesn't tell you why you don't have visibility, right? It's not pulling back that curtain, but it is really telling you how people search. And I feel like with Indeed, a lot of it has to do with relevancy and the traffic that's going there. So if no one goes there, if no one clicks through your ad, it doesn't show that they're connected wisely, right? And so it will do things like, here's a suggestion for your title, because title matters, and it's given importance on Indeed, along with the algorithm. So those are the types of things that it will give. Indeed gives importance to salary data. So it's going to tell you, hey, if you include salary, you'll get 30% more views and clicks on this job. So those types of things, that's how it does it. It's not just, hey, we're going to run this through a chatbot connect with ChatGPT or something to give you a job ad. It's giving you the suggestions of where it will show visibility on the boards.
Now, is this live in action, or is it like coming?
Yes, good question. It is live and in action through Indeed, and we have our alpha and beta customers on it. October 1st is when we'll start launching all of our customers on the platform. So there's a wait list. We just have a link on the website, and then you can just go from there. So yeah.
I assume you've seen data, and we're going to dig into it. Like, is it working?
It's working.
I assume it's working, or we'd be somewhere else right now.
Yes, it's working. Exactly. I'd be like, wah, wah. No, it is working, and some of the early data of customers Well, we didn't talk about one of the pieces, but one of the pieces is it allows for you to connect into Indeed's database of candidates and be able to invite them, right?
Yeah.
So one of our alpha customers was really struggling with a pharmaceutical tech. They couldn't find one in this remote area. And so they put in the criteria, the job ad, and then we're able to go and find, I think, 4 candidates. They offered to one. She's hired, and it took half the time.
Yeah.
And she's a fantastic candidate. Someone that they feel like they wouldn't have had opportunity to get in front of because she was more passive.
Yeah.
She had a profile on Indeed, but she wasn't actively looking. So it is working in that way. It's cutting down on the time to fill because we're having the heavy match criteria, and then. Yeah, it's working. It's helping us quite a bit. Also, I believe that Indeed also has the new ecosystem will be built out on their Talent Scout. So there will be a lot of appendages that are built out in technology that will help us to be able to match and to really be able to recruit in a more proactive way.
Yeah. What I love about this, and I wanted to kind of have you on to talk about even, is like, I spend a ton of time talking with recruiters, and a lot of what we talk about is like every AI tool coming out is like almost an enemy to the recruiter, right? They're like, can we do your job better? Can we do without? This is one of the few I'm hearing about that is actually going to let us do the work we like more.
Yes. Yes. And I think that's really what this is about, right? The goal isn't to replace our humans.
Right.
In my opinion, with AI, I think there are some areas where people are trying to replace the human. But for me, it's more about getting to the right people faster so that you can spend the time with them in a human way, with the interview, with a proper onboarding. And I feel like, when, to your original point about hanging by a thread, there's just so much happening that's required of our recruiters today.
Yeah.
Smaller teams, more demand, more candidates than ever before, fake candidates, ghosting all the way through the process. And so I love that that it really helps us to continue to be human in the recruiting process where it really matters, because people are longing more than ever to feel connected to the ad, to the people, to the experience, and that's what matters.
And the goal here is connect through finding the profile, but then the recruiter is taking over, right? Stepping in, building that relationship, and kind of still coming in.
And really it is just, hey, here's where you should start. Here's your top 3. Go look at these. And if you say, these aren't what I'm looking for, okay, tell me what you're looking for. Okay, it's more like this. Yeah, it's more like that. Can I have 3 more of those? Yeah, so here you go. So instead of you going, all right, today's another day, I'm just going to sift through all these resumes, it now puts them in front of you so that you can then really hyper focus on those that are a good fit.
Yeah. This is great, and I think this is such a live, real application of a lot of these things. I think like so much of what we talk about is theory, and that's why I like actually being here and like talking to people that are putting this into practice. We're hearing every CEO and every tool out there making their guesses, but this is real world recruiters getting to use these tools. The customers on it, open to everyone in October.
Yes.
That's going to be exciting.
Yes. The other thing that we're hearing, I'm standing in the booth. I've had 10 people yesterday come over and say, hey, we've got this new product, we've got this new whatever. And they're not fully integrated. And that's the other thing, is having it sit within the platform. So, sorry. I know you're transitioning, but I wanted to just bring that up because I think no one wants to log into one more system.
Yeah.
That's just, there's too many. So.
Yeah, that I feel like this is going to be the futures eventually, where one system for everybody to just own everything.
Yeah, exactly.
But
single sign-on worldwide.
Yeah,
right?
It's just one SSO, hit the button, and you're into every software. I would love it personally.
I know. I was like, I'm not mad at that idea. Yeah.
I have Chase Bank. I don't know why I'm going to call it Chase Bank right now. Like every time I log into them, they have to send me like the text and the double. And I'm talking like if I log out 2 minutes later, it kind of comes in and just like, no one's trying to pay my bill this bad.
Yeah,
and you
no
click
one
the box.
is.
You
If
click
they
the
want-
box. It says stay for 2 weeks, but like literally 2 minutes later, you have to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm sick of getting texts from Chase Bank on how to log in.
I bet. You're like, here we go again.
Yeah, this is totally separate rant.
Yes.
So if anyone's out there is building anything, SSO for every website
please.
on the planet. I'm sure it's safe. I'm sure there's no issues.
I'm sure there'll be none.
Don't ask me any of the security issues. Okay. So I don't know if you're like me. I am chronically online. I tell people, like even myself, I'm just like, well, I got on the internet when I was like 10 and I never got off, and then eventually I made money doing it. So like to me, I'm just like on the internet. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. And I love talking about LinkedIn in the wild, which are things that happen on there. Sometimes they're real, or they're always real stories, but sometimes they are real problems. Sometimes they aren't. Do you spend that much time on LinkedIn?
I do. Yeah, far too much.
Far too much, yes.
I think that is my social media of choice just because Facebook's added out. Like, there's just so many ads, and then, wild times everywhere else.
Yeah.
So, I spend more time on LinkedIn. So.
Okay. So there's been a story. The story's a little bit older, but as president of TA, I want to hear your thoughts on it. A couple weeks ago, the CEO of Perplexity did an interview. I don't know if you saw this interview.
Yes.
And you know exactly where I'm going with this. And he claimed that in like a year, AI is going to replace 4 recruiters, and I believe his exact quote was something along the lines of like, a sourcing Boolean string and a welcome email is all it takes to replace a recruiter.
Yeah.
Does that make you feel as president of talent acquisition?
First of all, I was shocked. I was like, wow, like that is, first of all, a really bold claim. And I don't know if it is... I don't believe that's where the world is going. I feel like, first of all, our recruiters do a lot in guarding a culture and helping to create a culture, right? And I don't know how you can replace that. Maybe there's some AI out there, but as of right now, I feel like what we really need is our recruiters to be more efficient, right? We need to put tools in the hands of the recruiters so that they can be more efficient to focus on the things that matter.
Yeah.
And I feel like... cultural pieces and true happy employees starts with the job ad. Yeah. Because you're painting the proper picture for them of what their job will be as they enter the company. You give them their first glimpse into who you are as a company, right? And so I don't know how you can fully replace somebody who has such an important part in building a company and building a culture. And so it was wild to me to hear that claim. And then also, I mean, a selection is an auto disqualification and things. I'm not there yet on that. I don't think anyone wants an auto disqualifier to completely make decisions on hiring, because we have biases, we have all these different things that come into play. So I want to serve up and give our recruiters the best tools possible for them to make the final selection of someone who will be a really good culture fit, who will help build a company, which I don't know if we can have an agent replace that. And
like the scariest part of that quote to me is this is the CEO who has a company. At the time he said it, he was also hiring for a lead recruiter, like on his team. And I just couldn't imagine like applying for a job under a CEO.
That he's wanting to replace you already.
He doesn't want you there at all.
Yeah.
He just wants you to hire the people that are going to build something to replace you.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of... I don't know. We talked about this at the Indeed conference, and the jobs that require AI are less than 1%, and they're coming of the jobs online, and it's coming from 90%, or 90% of them are coming from this one company, or these one set of companies. And these are the type of companies that we're talking about, where they believe that it's going to replace, and we're coming in hard on those things and making bold claims instead. But what we're seeing is people that are saying, hey, we're going to replace this job, now have to hire people to either manage the agents, or they're bringing humans back in because it's just not working properly. Right? And maybe we're not ready, and maybe things will get better in the long run. But what I would love to do is replace the pieces that we don't want to do, that are more administrative, and help us to be better at our jobs.
And it's interesting because I think every recruiter has the parts they like and don't like. And I think that becomes the hope, right? Even if different companies are implementing different things, like you can go to the ones that are just like, no, we want an administrative recruiter, right? Versus like, we want one strong in operations. Like I am very bad at the operation side of things. I am, I'm a startup guy.
Because you're a creator.
Right. I was the one that just sort of like, the less compliance a company has, like the better I can be as a recruiter. So like the AIs that take care of that, amazing for me. But I know other recruiters who would just like crumble if they had to recruit the way that I do.
So figuring out what pieces we want to automate and use the AI for.
Okay. I am really excited to hear your story because you have overseen and grown so many teams. You come through a lot of ways. I love sharing recruiting nightmare stories. I always tell people recruiting nightmare story can be anything. It can be your own recruiting story as a candidate. It can be you as a hands-on recruiter. It can be a team you led, anything like that. But I do it because I like people to know we are all in the same boat. And pretty much every nightmare story someone tells, we're all like, yep, I remember that happening too. What is your recruiting nightmare story?
I had to think about this one for a while because I I worked really hard on the applicant pro side to like make the recruiting really smoothly. But I can think about a time when I was being recruited for a position. I was sought after and brought in for an interview. It was a startup in Utah, and they had a super cool office. I still remember that this big wall that was graffitied.
Yeah.
And so I sat in there. I met with their co-founder, and we had a great conversation. He's like, awesome, next we're going to take you in and you can meet the team. And the team sat me down and said, all right, we're going to have you run the software while we all watch. And I was almost as though I was running through like a user testing case or something like that. And they set a timer and sat it in front of me. And I'd never seen the software before. I wasn't even sure what it was, what we were doing.
Yeah.
And they made a point to not tell me anything, because they wanted to see how I would handle the pressure.
Yeah.
How do you think on your feet?
Yeah.
How do you handle pressure? And I was, what was happening in my mind wasn't, I'm gonna step in, I'm going to be really strong in this. I was like, I would never work here because felt like I was set up to fail, right? And so, but it's still traumatic to this day when I think about it. Is like we would never do that. We're never going to do that. That's not great. And I just want to add one thing. We're talking about skills-based hiring and how people want to see our actual humans in action prior to the job. If you're requiring people to do anything that's going to take them more than let's say 30 minutes, please pay them. They don't need to work for you for free in an interview process. I have a friend right now who's going through a recruiting process. He probably spent 30 hours on a presentation on how he would remedy their marketing within the company. That's like a very strategic play. He got no pay for it, and then they passed on him as an applicant. So let's just not do that. It's bad form. If you want to see it, great. Offer to pay them as a consultant, and use that to see their work in action, but we're not working for free.
You're preaching to the choir. I went viral a few times when I was director of talent at Teal for implementing a paid work trial, where the final stage of the interview was when we thought we knew our person. We paid them their full-time consultant salary, whatever their salary would be. We converted to a 1099 rate. And we put a project together, and they came in. We gave them a team to work with, the engineers or whoever it would be.
Fantastic.
And at the end of the week, they were just, do you want to work here? Do we think this went well? And 90-ish% of the time, it converted, right? It was yeah. And then at that point, they're ready for the offer. They love it. But 10% of the time was sort of just oh, this doesn't feel right.
Yeah. And aren't you glad you know?
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you knew? I love that.
Yeah. So it's something I always recommend. I always get a lot of pushback for how impossible it is. And yes, I understand every company has different situations, but there's always a way to figure something out.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. We worked around people who had jobs. We figured it out for every situation. So yes, I 100% agree with you there.
Yes, there we go.
And every candidate, I never had anyone who got through that process was, no, I don't want this part of it. They love that idea. Okay. To wrap, I always like to ask people, right, we're here, we're at this conference, this is great, we're meeting people, this is so important. I started the newsletter and the podcast because recruiters are, like I said, hanging on by a string. We are isolated within our own companies for the most part. Many of us, especially if we're remote, are isolated from everyone on the internet hates us. And we're sort of building this group together. How do you keep a community, right? Whether it's your team or whatever, how do you keep a community and cope for recruiters of just sort of what it's like in this market right now?
Yeah. Again, all the respect for the recruiters and what they do on a day-to-day basis. We're working with our recruiter companies and trying to help them to really be able to surface what it is that they need. I think one of the main things that I feel like is so important across an organization, as CEO and others, is really just communication. Find your team, find your people, walk the halls, communicate overall, and do your best just to be part of the solution. I think too often I hear about complaints and I say, what should we do? And people don't have ideas.
Yeah.
Be part of the solution to help us move and progress and develop the talent that we need, or the processes and the software that we need. Be part of that solution, and I think it will make a bigger difference in the world.
I assume your team likes working for you.
I'm gonna
go around secretly ask them.
Yes, there's a couple. I'll send them. I'll tell you who to talk to.
You handpick who I should talk to.
No, but I think I don't know. I try to remember that even in leadership, that people are human, and that's really we all have families. We all have other things outside of work, and so this is a part of who we are. It should enhance what we do and who we are.
Yeah.
So.
Awesome. This is amazing. I'm so glad we got to meet when we were here.
Me too.
We got
Thank
to
you.
sit down and record. Obviously, tune in for other episodes. Check out Talent Scout. It does sound interesting.
Yes.
Right? See where these companies are going with it. Don't forget to buy the book, of course.
Of course.
Yeah. I got a great picture of Heidi with the book, and I have been pushing this book hard in Las Vegas. And other than that, I promise to be in touch by the end of the week.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.